Hey guys, WantClue here. Welcome back. I'm super excited to tell you everything about the version 2.10.0 for your Bitaxe. So let's get started and right into it. As you can see, we are back again on GitHub, and don't get confused by the little draft icon up here. We were just preparing what we want to write into the what has changed section of it. So that has been settled, everything is okay, and as soon as you do see this video, everything will be already live on GitHub, and you can go to the web page of your Bitaxe and just click on update and do all the updates as usual. So as a good manner, as we always do that, I want to quickly go over the new features that we do have, as well as all the other things that have changed, so that you guys have a good understanding of what really has changed on the device. And you really want to stick to it, because there are so plenty new and awesome features that I can't wait to actually show you. And hopefully this time we catch every single bit. So later in that video, I'll also make sure that you actually do see what has changed. If we take a look on all these changes here, we want to make sure that everything is covered. First things first, we do have a new pool difficulty to the dashboard section here, which has been added by Bitaxe, which is great. So now you can actually see on your dashboard what the pool difficulty is that has been suggested by the pool and that your miner probably has set to. The next thing is we have a configure min fan speed percentage added by 0xFox, which is great. So now you actually can set what will be the minimum fan speed, and your fan will no longer go to 0. You can still set it to 0, but you could say, well, 10% is the lowest that I want to go because I want to have some airflow. Also, we have a little bit of a privacy warning when it comes to the release check button added by Bitaxe as well. So as always, the Bitaxe itself does not connect to any other thing on the internet apart from the mining pool that you connected to. And if you run this locally in your network at home, the only thing it actually connects to is to your local node. But if you click on this check release button on the update page, then it will connect over to GitHub. This is the only other connection that the Bitaxe will do, and there will be no other connection on this. The next one is a show and hide pool advanced options. We have focused and we have decided that it might be a good idea to hide a couple of options on the pool sections, because a couple of people got a little bit confused about what's happening there and what to do with all these settings. So now they are hidden beneath a advanced option tab or advanced option button. So I'll show you this as soon as we are done with going over all these changes here. There's also a new Wi-Fi icon component implementation or introduction here, which is nice. With that one, nothing really has changed when it comes to the UI style, but there is a small Wi-Fi icon which you can use and which you can take a look on how good the Wi-Fi connection is. Another really awesome feature here is that we now have the option to handle multiple WebSockets connections simultaneously, which has been added by Mutatrum. Really thankful for you doing that in here. So now what you can do, if you have multiple tabs open or multiple devices and all of them want to connect simultaneously to the same Bitaxe and take a look on the logs, you finally can do that. Awesome, I love that. We also have a little bit of formatting improvement when it comes to the release nodes, and this is really an awesome feature that I so much love to see, because having such a page on the Bitaxe and you can actually see what has changed on it is fantastic. So technically speaking, you never need to touch GitHub again. There's also a little bit of an increase on the contrast ratio for the purple color added by Bitaxe here as well. And probably one of the best features ever that you don't want to miss here is the improvement on the PLL calculation for the BM1366, so for your Bitaxe Ultra, the BM1368, so your Bitaxe Supra, and the BM1370, which is the Bitaxe Gamma, the current latest release that we do have. And don't feel left behind, the Bitaxe GT is on the horizon and will hopefully be released very shortly. I just want to make sure that you guys are hyped for that here. So don't miss out on that one. But what is this improvement on PLL calculations? Well, there is the thing that you can go to the settings page, and a while back I introduced it that you can live change the settings on the frequency for your Bitaxe chip, which was not previously possible. You needed to reboot the device every single time, and now we have changed it over so that, or we have a while back changed it over that you can do this live while the device is running. But there is some calculation happening in the background. Nothing that I want to go too deep into detail here, because that would just eliminate the whole space here and it would be way too much to talk about. But there's some calculation that's happening so that everything from the chip to the power consumption to the voltage that gets added to the chip needs to be calculated and everything. And this has been just improved here with a fix from Mutatrum, or a feature, I'd call it rather that, which is so awesome. Now you can achieve way more frequencies. You can use basically whatever frequency you want to use. You want to set your Bitaxe to a frequency of 336.17256 megahertz, go for it. If the device can't do this exact frequency, it will automatically deduct the next possible frequency and set it to that. It is so awesome. Now we come over to the stratum improvements. The thing here is the Exonance 2 variable length. A couple of pools had a little bit of weird things on how they do implement that, so Scott added it in here, which is really awesome to see. And shortly after that, I was adding some cleanup for the Exonance in here as well. We also do have a fixed last passed request ID not being updated by E. Anderson in here, which is really awesome to see, which is important because some of you guys were upset that the ping timer or the timer of request response was sometimes off and you had like 10,000 milliseconds or whatsoever in your dashboard. Sorry for that, it was a bug. I didn't notice in the first place because I was not using all of these pools like brains and whatsoever. I'm not using them, I will not, but yeah, some of you people do, and therefore you had these kind of issues and we figured out what it was. So this has been fixed and is awesome. One of the biggest things that is finally introduced with the version 2.10.0 is the BAP, the Bitaxe accessory port. If you take a look on your Bitaxe right now, on the very top of it, you do have like 5 holes, and next to it there stands BAP, and you always wondered, what is this weird thing? Well, this is a port that you can use with upcoming accessories for extending your Bitaxe, having another screen, a bigger screen, communication to another device, you name it. There's already something in the making, and I'm really stoked about showing this to you very soon. So stay tuned for that, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you get notified about that. It is so huge. If you want to know a little bit more about the BAP port, just make sure that you check out the last couple of town halls, because I was talking about the BAP multiple times, and yeah, it's too much information to put it in this video right here. The next thing is for the upcoming Bitaxe GT, I've implemented that you can read both temperatures of both ASIC chips, so you can see the temperature for the ASIC chip number 1 and the ASIC chip number 2. You see where this is going. With multiple chips, you can read out multiple temperatures. At a certain point, it will probably make no sense to do that. If you have like 100 chips, you don't want to read out 100 temperatures. But it is cool to do, and therefore we did that. One thing that a couple of people, especially on Reddit, got really upset about was the way how you get notified on your Bitaxe screen if you find a share and the share gets accepted. What it did previously, there was a dot on the screen, and I liked it, but a couple of people were upset about it. They thought it's something weird and they don't like it. So we changed it, and Mutatrum improved it. Now we do have something for shares accepted, shares rejected, work received, a notification, and work sent notification to the screen. So you have like an arrow up, an arrow down, an arrow up plus, and so some things. You'll figure that out. It will make sense, hopefully, to you. I love it. I could constantly watch the screen of my Bitaxe, so hopefully you guys finally like this as well. We also have a little bit of updates when it comes to the documentation. For example, we have a little bit of added tooltips for the suggested difficulty and excellent subscribe pooled fields, which has been added by Mutatrum. Thanks for doing that, as well as an update on the README API section done by Bitaxe. Thank you, man, for doing that. Now, let's quickly go over the bug fixes that we do have. FUP was a quick fix for sorting undefined pool difficulties and stuff like that, which is something of the Swarm feature. So if you were on the Swarm page and a couple of these pools did not really show you the difficulty, or just the device was not able to send out what kind of pool difficulty it currently is using, then there was some weird things going on. This has been fixed. There's also a fix on the STR and CPY buffer overflow warning and Wi-Fi configuration done by Ahmed Alalusi. I do hope I pronounced this correct here. So there was something going wrong on our Wi-Fi configuration, which could cause an overflow warning. And with that fix, it has been eliminated. Thanks for clearing that bug. Awesome. And it's good to see you because you're a new contributor to this, and I'm really appreciating you being here and doing some work. Awesome. The Quicklink service had also received a couple of bug fixes when it comes to the JavaScript code that was in there, which was been done by connecting your machine or your Bitaxe to your local pool. Then the Quicklink service was somehow broken, and that got been fixed. Also, there is a minor fix to the BAP port that was needed because some couple of bits and pieces were missing on my initial introduction of it. The block found screen sometimes didn't show was a issue that when you guys go out there and you mine shitcoins for whatever reason, you find a block and now the screen is doing some crazy stuff. This is no longer happening. We had some of our moderators gladly take the bite in there, got stabbed in the back multiple times and just mined some of these shitcoins. I don't know if he will cap to them, but I don't hope so. But anyway, he did that for the sake of people being upset about that the block found screen is not really properly working in that manner. We never thought about like mining a shitcoin where you will find a block every, I don't know, 30 minutes or 2 hours. So yeah, we never thought about that this might be an issue, but now we know, a couple people do, and we fixed that. This was never anything that would go in the way we're finding a Bitcoin block, because the odds of you finding multiple blocks in a couple of minutes is rather low, I'd say. So therefore, if you would have found a Bitcoin block, it would be all right. There's also a bug fix when it comes to the fixed header fields are too long error, which was just an SDK configuration issue. Code quality is always a nice thing. If we clean up things and make it easier and more understandable for the user or for upcoming developers to see and to read and get into the code, it is so much needed. I'm always loving the sections. So we have a common difficulty mask function has been cleaned up by Mutatrum, as well as a cleanup on the quick links. We also have refactored the network configuration component, as well as we have unset the prime and G icons that are no longer being used, and they have been removed. Also, the notification design system has been uniformed by DuckX. Awesome, man. You're doing so much important work on the front end. It's awesome. There is also a refactored edit component section now, which is great, as well as the system component and the Quicklink service section as well. The auto refresh of the current version at update has been introduced, which is so nice. Like, you now update your system and snappy, you no longer need to reload the page. It will automatically do that. And you go from 2.10 to 2.11. You don't need to click on reload or anything else, because the page will do everything for you, and you will see the new version that you're running on. It's so awesome, and I love it. There's also a little bit of consistent spelling. So some of these letters, like for terahash, gigahash, millions, trillions, whatsoever, we had sometimes uppercases, sometimes lower cases, something in between. Now this has been uniformed in a way which is way more approachable and hopefully more user-friendly. The gzip handling on the WAF2 files has also been removed, which is a nice thing. I didn't like that at all, and now it's gone. It's good. We also have a little bit of memory leak protection on the home component, as well as some statistics deactivation without restarts. So there was an issue with the statistics page, or the statistics that you can enable on your Bitaxe, so that when you close the tab and you come back, bam, everything is there and you can see what the device was doing like 2 hours later or 2 hours earlier. I'm sorry. There was an issue with that, which has now been fixed. And there's also a fix for the form label, which is great. I don't know why they are actually in the code quality. They should have been in the bug fixes. When it comes to the build system, there is a new workflow when it comes to building and publishing on the dev containers, which has been added by Johnny9. Awesome to see some contributions from you, man. Always love that. We also have a couple of upgrades on the IDF version, as well as the npm packages, and we have some removal from fallback code for the 7xx boards as well. So yeah, these boards, these Supra Hex boards, I don't know how many of them have been produced or are out there. A couple people use them, but there was some fallback code in there that we needed, and we are certain that we can remove that, so we did that. We also split the unit test workflow up so that this can work with proper pull requests, which has been added by Johnny as well here. Lovely. The docker build.py has been added, and we have bumped up finally to the version 5.5 of the ESP IDF. And lately we changed the stconfig defaults, which was the earlier bug about that the headers are too small. So this goes hand in hand. You see some of these things, you need to look at both of these things simultaneously because they are tied together. And the last thing that was added in here was the requirement that if you do build this firmware, you need to have at least IDF version 5.5. So with that, I think it's time to go over and take a look on the Bitaxe. So here we are on the Bitaxe itself. This is one of my Bitaxe scammers, and we are already running on the version 2.10.0. First things first, this should look rather familiar to you, and you should know what you're seeing right in front of you. One of the first things that we can take a look on is on the top right corner. We see the Wi-Fi RSSI. This is the strength indicator for your Wi-Fi signal with a lovely little Wi-Fi icon. As well as next to it, don't get confused by this reload button. This is actually the restart button. It is more appealing than the old one that we used to use. If you scroll down now on the pool section, we can see the difficulty that has been set or is currently being used with the pool that we are connected to. And you see I'm connected to my local node, and the quick service here is working. And it's running for 2 days and 3 hours now already. So 2.10.0 was tested extensively over the past 6 to 7 weeks. The past 6 to 7 weeks were only a couple of bug fixes and minor changes. So this release should be super stable, and I hope we don't need any other minor release or bug fix release anytime soon. Let's hop over to the Swarm page and take a look what we can actually see here. Let's quickly load a couple of these devices, and while we do that, I was talking about the issue earlier that we had with not seeing what the suggested or the current pool difficulty is. Now we actually do see that. All of these devices are running, hashing currently at 13.8 terahash. Lovely. Most of these devices are out of my carport. If you want to watch a video about that, feel free to do so. I've recorded all of that kind of crazy, stupid stuff that I was doing there. But anyway, so what we can see here is all of these devices are loading. Everything looks rather normal, and we can also see the pool difficulty. We can also sort it from the pool difficulty. Everything should be fine and just as usual in here. If you go over to the logs, what I was talking about is what I can do. I can just grab myself the link of this URL, open up a new page, paste that in, and we see I do have now 2 open, and we can actually see that both of them are sending over the real-time logs, which is fantastic to see. So now, next thing that we actually want to do is we want to come over to System and take a look what we can see here. Nothing has changed. Now let's go over to the pool page. In here, I was earlier talking about that we have now hidden a couple of these features. The only thing that you should usually be concerned about is what's the pool address, what's my Bitcoin address? Everything else is more for the advanced people that actually want to dive into a couple of settings they can play around with. And these are now hidden under the Show Advanced options. If you do that, you get your suggested difficulty as well as enable externals subscribe. And these little icons here with the eye, they will give you some information about what it actually is. This has been added for the for the main configuration for your pool and for the fallback configuration as well. If we now come over to the network section, this should be as normal. The themes have been changed a little bit when it comes to purple. The contrast here is now a little bit better and should be more appealing. If we go over to the settings page, everything here should be more or less the same. The issue or the bug that I was talking earlier about was the statistics section down here. If you slide over to 0 and then you click on save, previously it would create an issue if you would go back to the dashboard and you would take a look on the statistics. Then it would create some weird 0 numbers. This has been fixed, now is no longer happening. So you can change your statistics as you wish and everything should work as it is. If you now come over to the update section, we can click on the check for latest release. It adds this privacy warning here. Please note this will connect to github.com to check for the latest release. You can disable that with don't show this again and you can click on continue. It will give you the latest release version 2.9.0, and if you click here on release notes, it will actually open up this beautiful page and show you what has been done. So you never actually need to go over to GitHub. You can just stay on your Bitaxe and see all these awesome things that have been changed, improved and done here. With that, I think that's everything I needed to say about this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it and that you cannot wait for updating your device. Till then, keep hashing and see you next time. WantClue out.